You're on the Fresh Start with Aaron and Chloe this morning. And look, we love getting to have conversations with people and hear their stories and their journeys as well. And we believe everyone's story and journey gives them some insight into life, and everyone's story is unique. Joining us now to share a bit of her story and some of her experiences. She's no stranger to being on the air and talking about books, because Carmen Allen joins us, local author. Welcome.
Hi, Aaron. Thank you for having me.
Carmen, I have seen your kids' books. You got 6 published. Fantastic.
Yes. The Molly series?
Molly Greenwood Adventures, yep.
I would love just to quickly, because that's not what we're talking about today, but where did those books come from?
My imagination. Actually,
so cool.
A dream, Chloe. It all started with a dream about 20 years ago.
It's amazing.
I had a dream right before you wake up. You know, when you don't know what day it is and you don't know whether you're allowed to stay in bed or you got to get up for work. And I had a dream of a little girl skipping down a hill away from a palace with a bag full of brightly coloured magical tokens in her hand, clutching it. And that's where it started.
Right.
So if you're interested in some really good kids' books, check those books out, Molly Books by Carmen Allen. But we are talking about a project that's very different, your new book that's just come out.
Yeah, my new book is Grief's Gift. It's a memoir. So it's not my whole life story, thank goodness. It just tells the story of a few years in my life, not that long ago, where I lost 4 people who were very close to me over a very short period of time. And it tells the remarkable story of how it was during that time, believe it or not, that I wrote and published 6 children's books.
Wow.
And when I look back now and think, oh my goodness, how did I do that? I mean, writing was new for me back then. It was a God thing. It had to be a God thing.
Yeah.
So give us a bit of a snapshot. And, you basically experienced a whole bunch of grief within a period. Give us a bit more, a bit more of a look at that with whatever you're comfortable sharing.
Yeah, sure. So everything changed in July 2018. That was the month that I realised both my parents, who live 4 hours drive away from me, were really struggling with dementia. And I thought, okay, I need to just be a bit more aware of them at the moment. And I didn't know what was ahead. It was also the month where I realised that my first Molly book needed some serious editing. So everything, that was really interesting looking back, that it all happened in that month. And then later that year, I got a shocking phone call from the hospital to say Mum was in a bad way and they had discovered a mass and believed she had cancer, but couldn't, quantify that until she had an ultrasound. And of course, Dad his dementia with Alzheimer's wasn't understanding instructions, and it was all too much for him. So that sent me on a big ride, you could call it, of caregiving from the distance, where I had to liaise with doctors, go to appointments because Mum and Dad couldn't remember what they were told. I mean, everyone struggles under stress to remember what you're told. It wasn't just dementia that kicked in, it was the emotional trauma of what they were hearing. So I played the role of happy daughter. I tried every time I arrived to put on a cheery face and be cheerful for them. I think God really gave me the strength to do that. But behind closed doors, I was falling apart. It was just so big. And a few months after Mum had that diagnosis, Dad was diagnosed with cancer. Actually, the same weekend, Mum had another emergency into hospital. So I had 2 of them in emergency, trying to deal with it, and finding out Dad had cancer as well and having to tell Mum. She was like, I really haven't talked about this much, but she said to me, I don't understand why God would do that. Why would he do that? And I said, I don't know, Mum, but maybe he just knows that Dad needs to be near you, and you're both going to be in heaven very soon, and he's not going to leave Dad here on earth for years and years. I don't know. That was the only answer I could come up with. And so Mum passed away in August 2019. Dad passed away the following May. And then I lost one of my very close friends and mentors the following year. And then a few months later, my father-in-law, who I love to bits. So it was just bang, bang, bang. And this is all through COVID. And so I lost my job through that. And then, as my memoir explains, you can't go through these things, I've discovered, and not have your physical health attacked would be a bad word to say.
It's toll taken.
It takes its toll. And I'd heard of a book, the body keeps score, keeps the score, and it's absolutely true. So, my memoir tells the story of all that loss, including my health and how I struggled to trust in a God that I'd loved all my life, and He was my foundation. But during that time, I really questioned Him big time.
Yeah, I can imagine. Did you feel destabilised, and what did you do with that?
I felt distant.
Yeah.
And my brain, my head said, well, if you feel distant, the facts are God doesn't move, God doesn't change, you've changed. I thought, yeah, I have. I think I can remember having a breakdown on the lounge quite a while after Mum had passed away, actually. The tears came. And I can remember saying to God, I really need you to show up. And I talk about this in the book towards the end, where I said to Him, you say, blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. I'm not hearing much comfort from you at the moment. Where's the warm, fuzzy feeling, or the Bible verse that's just going to drop into my head now? I was quiet for a while, didn't hear it. And so, you'll read about me just deciding at that point, well, He can't be trusted. His word isn't true. And not all of it's true. I don't know what to do with that. Oh, well, just keep going.
Yeah.
It's interesting because what you described there, it's not that you stopped believing in God's existence, but it was almost like a letdown of relationship. I wonder if that's almost, in some ways good that you still held on to a belief in God, but maybe it's almost a harder journey to go, well, I think you're real, but can I trust you? How do you start to see that turn around?
Yeah, so it was rebuilding of trust. And I was saying to Chloe before we went on air that the turning point for me was listening to a Steve Furtick sermon. Steve's from Elevation Church in the US. And interestingly, the title of the sermon was Don't Let the Funeral Fool You. And he was talking, it's a story, the sermon's about the road to Emmaus and the two guys walking along and not recognising Jesus. And, somewhere in that sermon, he was talking about, or what I heard from that sermon was, we should say, just surrendering to the Lordship of Jesus again. And I realised that I needed to do that. I needed to say to God, despite me not understanding why I've gone through all of this, you are still the Lord of my life. And I can remember getting on my knees in my lounge room and just sobbing and realising my heart had become hard again and I'd wanted to be the boss of my own life. And so surrendering was the turning point.
So interesting. It's not something that you would think in grief that would be such an important part. So that was the turning point. Obviously, you get to that point and you start surrendering, but it doesn't fix anything.
Nothing.
What was the journey like after that?
No, didn't fix anything. My health was still a mess. I just thought, well, God, I look back then, it gives you the hope to go, okay, so where have I come in life? Has God ever let me down? He's always been there. And I did a lot of soul searching about suffering through that. I can remember reading Tim Keller book through that time and actually sharing that book with one of the registered nurses at the nursing home that Dad was in, who was a Christian, and she had been working through some really hard stuff too. So that Tim Keller book, it was a crisis of faith really, all around suffering. And I'd been there earlier with years ago when I was doing advocacy work with International Justice Mission. So, why does God allow suffering? I'd gone deeper on that. But now it was my suffering.
Oh, it's so different.
Yep.
Not just people overseas. It was Carmen's suffering. Yeah. And so it was like, well, I wonder how God can use this for His good And then I realised, stop thinking about the rest of the world. How can he read, how is he going to use this for your good, Carmen, So I just had to sit with that for a while.
Yeah. We're chatting with Carmen Allen, local author. She's got a new book. You may know her for her Molly Greenwood series. Sorry, have I got the surname there?
Molly Greenwood.
Molly Greenwood series. I see the Molly's Big Adventure and all that, but you may know her for those. But she actually has a new book out, which is more of a memoir of a journey through grief called Grief's Gift. We're going to continue the conversation. We're going to jump into some music right now, but I'd love to. We're going to explore a bit more, I guess, of how you get through grief well, and how people who might be themselves experiencing grief,
how to deal with loss and suffering in those moments.
We'll talk more about it on the other side of this.
Now, Carmen, in the break, you mentioned a line that I nodded furiously to about Australian culture.
Yes, I've read it and I've heard it from some counsellors that I've been to see, that Australians on the whole don't do grief very well. I remember my mum telling me when I was a teenager how she lost a couple of babies, and back in the day, she was in a ward with, 20 other mums, and she had lost hers at delivery, and she was still in the same ward. And she said just how hard that was. And she said to me, just remember that when somebody's lost someone, don't avoid the topic like it's the elephant in the room. And be sure to catch up with someone 2 or 3 months after the event, because the flowers have stopped coming, the meals have stopped arriving on the doorstep. They're still grieving, and they're going to be grieving for a long time.
Yeah.
Check in with them and ask the hard questions. You don't need to know the right thing to say. You just need to be prepared to listen. You don't need to solve any problems here. Just listen and care. So
yeah, I do think it's not an absence of care. I think it's that awkwardness of being worried that you're going to make it worse or say the wrong thing. And I imagine that the bigger thing is showing that you care. I would love to know are there some do's and don'ts around how to talk to someone who is going through grief? Maybe some of the things to avoid where we think we're being helpful, but maybe it's not so helpful.
Oh, you're putting me on the spot there. Well, I'm the type of person, Aaron, who I'm happy to share how I'm really going.
Yeah.
If I feel, number one, the person who's asking me is sincere, and they probably are when it comes to grief, because they wouldn't broach that subject unless they were sincere. So I would answer them very honestly about how I was going. Now, they might not know what to do with that when I said it. And like I said, their job isn't to fix me or take it all away. But just knowing that somebody's praying for you, really praying for you, and not just saying, I'll pray for you, but they actually follow up on that. I think that's really helpful. Don't be scared of saying the wrong thing. And letting that stop you from saying anything. When I did the Grief Share course at the Granary, which I did when I lost Mum and Dad, I can remember one of the tips we were given as grievers was, it's really helpful if you want to write a letter to your friends and say, this is what I'm going through, this is what I would love from you, and this is how you could help me. So some people want to be able to help, they just don't know how. But having, for a wife who's lost a husband, boy, having a group of people just offer to say, we'll come around and mow the lawn once a month or whatever. But they may not do that unless you say, I really need somebody to mow the lawn. I really need someone to help me with this. So it's not all on other people. It can be on the person grieving as well, to be humble enough to say, you know what, I really need help. I'm going to speak up and ask for it. Now, it would be devastating if they were in a church and they asked for help and didn't get it, but I can't solve that problem.
And you mentioned the Grief Share course. I just wanted to say quickly that there is a course that is running and it cycles through, I think it's 3/4 of the way through a cycle at the moment. But reach out if it's something that could be helpful to you, if you need space to talk and reflect and have, support group Grief Share at the Granary Church at 6 o'clock on Tuesdays. If you just reach out to the Granary Church, I'm sure you can get more information there.
Yeah, even if you can't be in this, I'm sure they'd still welcome you in, but even if you can't do this version, they'll have another one running. And
They will.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, so you've put all this into a book, and what's your hope for the book, and what would you like to see happen with it?
I really hope that by being brutally honest with readers, transparent, my story is very real and raw. So, people could say, oh, gee, she's had a bad attitude there towards the family members, or she's got a bad attitude towards God. Let's face it, we all have those attitudes at times. I don't think I'm alone with that. I just hope that by being vulnerable and sharing from my heart, that other people will recognise themselves and their journey and find a God who is just bigger than all of that, who loves on them in their circumstances, and that they wouldn't let go of the rope, I guess, between them and God. Or for those who don't know Jesus, the book, yes, it's a Christian book, but I don't bang on about God all the way through it. I hope people find Jesus through it. So I've had quite a few people read it, give me feedback, write reviews, and some of those people are people who don't know Jesus yet.
Wow.
So, and they've raved about it.
The book is Grief's Gift. It's by Carmen Allen. If you'd like to get your hands on a copy, or perhaps you have a friend, a loved one who is facing grief at the moment, that you think, I don't know what to do and I don't know what to say, this could perhaps be a beautiful gift to say, I'm thinking about you. And whether or not, they read it is up to them, but it could be something really useful. Go to carmenlallen.com. That's Carmen L. Allen. You'll find the book Grief's Gift, the companion journal, and a bunch of things there.
Yeah. Plus, I believe, Carmen, too, you are available if someone wanted you to come and speak at churches about
Absolutely.
this.
I'd love to. Yep. I would love to come and speak.
Yeah, as you said, I think we don't always tackle grief super well. So I think if you, as a church community, are kind of going, you know what, maybe there's been some grief in your church community. Maybe it is inviting someone like Carmen who can come and speak to it as well.
In a congregation or a small group for sure. If you want more details about Carmen, reach out to us. We'll put you in touch. But definitely, Grief's Gift is the book with the companion journal. You know what? If you are facing grief at the moment,
look, reach out and get help. And we'd love to encourage you to get involved. There's places like Grief Share at the Granary that you can get support as well. Lifeline are available if you're experiencing any strong feelings or emotions at the moment and you need someone to reach out to in the moment. Please make sure that you reach out and get some support.
But Carmen, just to put you on the spot, if somebody is thinking to themselves, yep, she's talking straight to me, I'm not in a great place yet. I can see she's moved kind of through it in a way. What would you say to that person?
I would actually say, as much as I don't have all the answers, reach out to someone who you really trust. If you don't feel like there's anyone in your life you can do that, you can go to my website. There's a contact page. Just flick me an email. I read them every day and I'll reply to you and I'll do my best to put you in touch with someone who can help you.
You're not alone.
Fantastic.
That's carmenlallen.com.